What's going on, everybody? It's Noah, and in this episode of the Rise Method, I want to discuss how to obtain peak performance on a day-to-day basis. How you can live in natural flow states on a day-to-day basis. How living in flow can be a regular experience for you. So we're going to talk a little bit about flow, what flow even means exactly, and ways in which you can facilitate more flow in your life. Things you can take out of your environment, things you can put in your environment, externally as well as internally, to experience more focus, more clarity, and to have more energy on a regular basis. And who doesn't want that, right? Whether you're wanting to make more money, or you're wanting to have better relationships, or you just want to be healthier and have more energy overall on a day-to-day basis, we could all use a little more flow, yes? So when we talk about this, when we talk about flow, and I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day, some people can take flow to mean that it's just kind of easy and you're not really doing anything. It's kind of like go with the flow, and people can take that to mean that, there's no effort involved. Well, really the technical term of flow, if you look at the work of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, back in the mid-'80s, kind of pioneered all the research on flow states. If you look at what flow is, what a flow state is, and I can throw a graph up here so you can see it, it's a balance. It's a space between challenge and skill, ultimately. We're finding that adequate balance between challenge and skill. And when we're in that space of challenge and skill, we experience flow. So it's not just it's not doing nothing exactly. There is some effort applied, but it is the balance of effort, to being relaxed within that effort. Okay, and this ties in with the Taoist term of Wu Wei, which means effortless action. So we're in this space, when we're in a state of flow, we're inhabiting and abiding by Wu Wei, effortless action, where yes, you're moving, you are acting in the world, you're doing the things necessary to build your business or to have better relationships. You're having those conversations and those interactions. You're putting yourself out there. You're building the systems. Okay, you're having the networking events. You're building the community. You're doing the workouts. You're meditating, whatever it is. Whatever it is you're trying to build in your life. You're doing all those things, but it's from a place of relaxation. It's from a place of calm and ease. And so when we're in that space, we're getting more done while expending less energy. Now, again, who doesn't want more of that? Because when you're able to act from this place, you can exponentially increase your productivity, your creativity, all the while maintaining more energy for other areas of your life as well. So that could be producing more in your business, getting more done, and then still having some fuel left in the tank to spend some time with loved ones at home, with your wife and your kids. That could look like, exerting yourself more in the gym or in a sport, but you still have energy left over to engage in a new hobby or go hang out with your friends and go spend time with loved ones, to work on building your business. And so there's always a little bit of nuance with this, right? That's how we find that flow. We get into that balance of challenge and skill. And so now I kind of want to segue into the conversation of how exactly do you facilitate flow? How do we have this optimal experience on a more regular basis? And the first thing, this is always going to be the first step in the RISE method, what we talk about here. It's awareness. It's awareness of who you are being in the present moment, right now. So if you are harboring any resistance against being the person that you desire to be now, the more productive version, the healthier version, the one who makes the healthier decisions, the one who takes the lead in relationships, the one who communicates effectively in relationships, the one who is calm and present, are you aware of being that version of yourself now? And if not, what are the steps you need to take? What are the shifts, or rather, what are the things you need to let go of to be that person now? Because that's part of the RISE method, and it's really just allowing yourself to be that which you truly are. So that is the first step in cultivating flow. It's the awareness, okay, of how much challenge am I presenting myself? If we think about the challenge and skill ratio, right? So through my awareness of being, am I harboring so much resistance that I'm overwhelming myself and I'm not even willing to take the challenge? Or by the same token, is something coming across as being so easy, right, that I'm not going to be able to cultivate that flow and live into that flow? So awareness is always the first step, right, when we're wanting to cultivate a flow state. Now with that comes the environment that we were living in. And I'll talk about the external environment and then go back to the internal environment. So the biggest thing in today's world to facilitate more flow states, that peak performance, it's removing things that break you out of these states of what are known as deep focus or deep work, spaces where you're not distracted essentially, and you're able just to focus fully on the task at hand. Because that's one of the characteristics of flow, is that you kind of become one with the task at hand. Whether it's a dance, whether you're making a project, whether you're cooking, whatever it is, you become one with it. That's an experience that's often relayed when studying flow. And to do that, you need to mitigate distractions, external distractions. So the biggest thing is if, say, you're wanting to get into a space of deep focus on a new project, and quite frankly, this is the biggest thing for any domain of our lives now. It's putting away social media, putting away distractions like your phone, okay, turning off the TV. Things as simple as that to help facilitate and maintain those states of flow. So setting up your external environment in such a way that it's conducive to that deep work, and it's as simple as that, just mitigating those distractions of the phone and the TV. And then we have to also consider ways in which we can shape our external environment to facilitate flow. So that could be cleaning up the space in which you are, okay, making sure it's tidy, it's organized, you have everything you need, and there's nothing that's cluttering your external environment, because that can lend to an internal clutter. It can be a micro stress, if you will, and just provide a little unnecessary challenge, whether or not you're aware of that. So cleaning up the space and then adding in certain elements, minor elements here and there that can contribute to your flow. So maybe it's a soft ambient music, or maybe it's just total silence. And the research in that has shown that learning is typically best done when in silence. However, ambient music can be conducive to flow. And that can vary too, especially if you're in something like dance, right? You're more often than not going to have some music on, some sound on, something to facilitate the activity. So sound is one sense. If you're particularly alert in your olfactory senses, like having some nice smells, some essential oils, or at the very least, removing odors that can detract from your flow state. And then also as well, having phrases, right? Having your goals in front of you in your workspace. Okay, so that can help you to reorient yourself to the task at hand. Having inspirational quotes related to the work that you're doing, or quotes related to what the kind of state you're trying to abide by on a regular basis, who you're aware of being on a moment-to-moment basis. Having inspirational art in your office space, or in your workspace, or in your music space. Having things visually, things that inspire you, things that are aesthetic, if you will, because that all contributes to flow. Having plants. Plants are great for a myriad of health reasons as well. They provide phytochemicals that get immersed into the air, and it cleans and purifies the air in which you're seated. And it provides that green that is soothing and calming to your nervous system. So that's another way you could set up your environment to facilitate flow. And then we can shift over to the internal environment, which we've already discussed, and that's kind of the main element of this, is the thoughts and the beliefs by which you're identifying. That goes back to the awareness of being. That will more or less be conducive to flow states. So are you someone who is a perfectionist, someone who's so hard on themselves that they're not allowing them to just relax into the task at hand? Or, coming from the other end, Are you someone who needs a little bit more structure, who needs more of a goal, more of a challenge, more of a direction to help facilitate that flow? Because flow is a balance of challenge and skill, yes. And another way of saying that, it's a balance of intention and surrender. So are you someone who needs more intention, or are you someone that needs more surrender? And so you can inquire that about yourself and just notice that in your life. Are you someone that is more open and therefore might do better with having more structure, or are you someone that is overly structured and can do with letting go, releasing that perfectionist mindset, or needing to have so much control in your life, and you need to practice just letting yourself perform, letting yourself play, letting yourself work without the self-talk going on such a regular basis? I know I come more from that stance rather than the other. So for me, when I found my flow states to be best is when I'm just allowing myself to talk, to just be. Even right now, I can feel myself in a flow state in the fact that I'm just allowing myself to speak. I'm not really thinking as much about what I'm going to say. I'm just allowing myself to speak and letting go more, in a sense. And, granted, flow is more or less easy depending on what it is exactly you're trying to develop, or what kind of domain of your life that you're focused on, if it's in your work or your relationships or your health, because you might be more or less skilled or proficient in those regions, even if it's a spiritual practice, like having a meditation or being in solitude, being able to feel more present and connected to a higher power. You may be more or less proficient in these areas, but the beauty of flow is that when you start to build and nurture the areas of your life where you're more proficient in this state and accessing these states, when you make time for those, it fills your cup up, so to speak, so that it goes into other areas of your life as well. So this is important to recognize places where you're just naturally flow-based. So you can be someone who's working on, let's say, an area that you're more challenged in, and the way you can improve experiencing more flow in that area of your life is to actually do more of the things that you're naturally good at. We talked about in one episode a while back, and I'll post it here, is about nurturing your automatic mechanism, your subconscious mind. And the way you nurture that automatic success mechanism is by noticing places in which you've been naturally successful in the past. So in the context of flow, it's noticing areas of your life in which you're more adept to stepping into and experiencing that sense of timelessness, of ease, of grace, of flow. And by noticing that and nurturing that, paying more attention to that, it'll trickle over into other areas of your life, so long as you're making time for it, right? And the best way to find these is to think about the things that you did as a kid, as a child, things that you've been doing since you were a child and you're just naturally good at, something you can revert to really help you just relax and unwind, whether that's scribbling or doodling or writing or painting, whether that's playing a sport, exercising, whatever that might be, running. Could be any of these things. For me, I know one is writing, because I remember ever since I was a young child, writing has always been a creative outlet for me. And I've been able to kind of get lost in my writing. So nurturing that, making time for that, and the ability to write helps me foster more flow. And in living in more flow through that, I can experience more of that when I'm working on my business, or when I'm talking to others, and when I'm wanting to immerse myself more in conversation and just kind of let that self-consciousness go, and just to be, right? And just to allow myself to be who I truly am. I do that by nurturing those places where I'm more naturally flow-based. So that's another way in which you can nurture flow and cultivate that internal environment, is to notice the places in which you experience flow on a more regular basis. So that's really all I have for you today. Flow, again, it is something that is so crucial for our life, to have more ease and to be more present with people, to experience more presence, to live into the now. And because when we live in the now, we've talked about this in many episodes before, when we live in the now, that's where we make any of the change that we desire in our lives, because you always become that which you are. So when you can live in a place of flow, okay, you're more present to how you're showing up. You're more present to the thoughts and the beliefs by which you're identifying the narratives that are going on, that you're living by. And you can notice that, and you can shift more effortlessly because you're allowing yourself, right, to flow. Or rather, you could be giving yourself a structure, a goal, and you're giving yourself the adequate balance of challenge to skill to cultivate more of that flow. Because again, you could be someone who has more of an intention focus or someone who has more of a surrender focus, and you have to find that balance. Because in that balance is where you cultivate the flow. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I have a free 30-day flow mastery guide, which you can check out. Link is in the description. It's only going to be free for about another week before it goes up for sale again at $33. But if you're interested in that, check out the 30-day flow mastery guide. The link is in the description. And be prepared to talk more about this in the future as well, because this obviously ties in with the elements of peak performance and transformation that we talk about in the RISE method, and thriving, living in our optimal state of being. It's living in a place of flow. So with that said, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk with you soon, and until next time, let's rise.